Hi, I'm Brian Davis from Brigham Young University, presenting our work, Text and Style Conditioned GAN, for the generation of offline handwriting lines. We can generate lines of handwriting conditioned on arbitrary text and a latent style vector, training on offline handwriting information. While there has been recent work in this area, our method is unique as it generates entire lines of handwriting while accounting for the variability in horizontal spacing that occurs among writers. We use both GAN and autoencoder methods to train our generator. As a result, we can approximately mimic an author's style, given only a couple lines of example handwriting. As you can see, these generated images approximate the style of the original but have modified text. A hopeful application is that a model with strong mimicry capabilities will allow a dataset to be created from a few examples of an author's handwriting, allowing an author-specific handwriting recognition model to be trained. We can also interpolate smoothly in style space, as shown by these images interpolating between 12 styles. Sound interesting? Hang around, and I'll go into more detail. First, I'll motivate handwriting generation, then I'll go over the most relevant prior work. Next, I'll describe our model and training procedure, and finally, show more results. Why do you want to generate handwriting? Generated handwriting images can augment datasets used to train handwriting recognition. Of particular interest would be the ability to create author-specific recognition models by starting with a small collection of an author's handwriting, extracting the style information from it, generating a dataset mimicking the author, and using that dataset to train a recognition model specific for that author's style, leading to improved accuracy. Another reason to generate handwriting is to allow people to regain the handwriting they have lost due to neurodegenerative disorders or other disabilities. As our work is using offline handwriting, that is, images of handwriting, we will not review works using online handwriting, which includes stroke and timing information. This includes the well-known work on handwriting generation by Alex Graves. Alonso et al. Presented at ICDAR 2019 the paper Adversarial Generation of Handwritten Text Images Conditioned on Sequences. This lays the foundation for later works, including our own. They use a GAN framework, with a discriminator providing an adversarial loss to encourage realistic-looking images. The desired text is embedded by an RNN into a fixed-sized content vector. To ensure generated images are legible, a handwriting recognition network is run on the generated image, and the recognition loss flows back to supervise the generator. Their method can only produce fixed-sized output images. Fogel et al. Presented ScrabbleGAN in June at CVPR. They extended Alonso et al. And achieved better results. Their primary contribution is how they treat the input string. Instead of embedding the text into fixed-sized vector, they begin convolutions on the one-hot encoding. This places a series of learned feature maps together for the generator to begin generating from. As a result, they can produce arbitrarily long images. The string length determines the final image length. This means the horizontal spacing is style agnostic. All strings of the same length generate images of the same length, despite varying style. Kang et al. Just presented GAN writing at ECCB a couple weeks ago. They achieved greater style control by extracting style from example images by the same author. The style is supervised by another network, a writer classifier. The style encoder and generator must replicate the style of the example images to elicit a high activation of that author's class. This addition allows them to mimic style in example images with some success. Their architecture causes example images to determine the size of generated images instead of content. In practice, they pad example images to a fixed length. Additionally, their content encoding restricts them to fixed-length target text. They inject global content into the A to N layers in a manner opposite StyleGAN, which injects style into the A to N layers. We use the same general framework for generation as prior methods. We have a desired text and a style vector from which we will generate an image. We base our generator on StyleGAN. Our model is primarily supervised by a discriminator and a recognition network. However, our generator receives the text as spaced text, which contains horizontal spacing information. The spacing information is predicted by an auxiliary spacer network, which receives the style vector and text as input. We begin generation with convolutions on the text, like ScrabbleGAN. We, like the GAN writing model, want better style control. Instead of using a writer classification network, we instead supervise with a reconstruction loss. For the reconstruction loss to be meaningful, the generated image must align to the target image horizontally. This is the purpose of the spaced text. To obtain space text aligned to a given image, we run the desired image through a recognition network. A recognition network trained with the CTC loss outputs a string which has blank and repeated characters in it. These are typically removed during decoding, but we leave them in here as they are generally good indicators of horizontal layout. We correct the output using the ground truth text, giving us the space text for the image we're reconstructing. A fixed-length style vector is extracted from the desired image using a style extractor network. We train our model with a curriculum. Some steps are straight GAN. Others incorporate the autoencoder. When a style is extracted, it's stored in a running window history. On pure GAN steps, the style is sampled from the history by randomly selecting two instances and interpolating or extrapolating on the line between them in style space. Like Scrabble GAN, we balance the gradients of our methods, but we use the mean gradient magnitude instead of standard deviation. The spacer network, a 1D fully convolutional network which predicts how many blanks should be before each character and how many times they should be repeated, is supervised by extracting style and space text from an image. The style and original text is passed to the spacer network, and the extracted space text is compared to the result using mean squared error. The discriminator is a fully convolutional network and is trained with the hinge loss. The handwriting recognition network is also fully convolutional, unlike the standard models which use RNNs. This limits the decision-making to local features only. Unlike prior methods, we pre-train the recognition network and freeze the weights. Here are our results side by side, Alonso et al. And Scrabble GAN. While our method was designed to generate lines, we show it generating words here for comparison. Our generated results appear slightly smaller because our method was trained on full lines of handwriting as opposed to the more tightly cropped word images. Here are our results compared to those from GAN writing. As we pointed out earlier, Scrabble GAN generates images whose width is determined by text length and is independent of style. Our method takes style into account when generating the horizontal layout, so the image widths vary as the style does. Our generation results appear realistic, and we validated this with a human study on Amazon Mechanical Turk. See the paper for details. Our generator has no trouble with out-of-vocabulary words. It does struggle with infrequent characters, like the capital M and question mark here. When reconstructing a style, our model is successful at capturing global elements of style, like slant, size, and ink thickness. However, it often doesn't capture individual character shape, like whether or not an author loops their L's. Sometimes it's non-committal between character forms, like this Y, which is partially looped. We have presented an offline handwriting generation method, which generates full lines of handwriting conditioned on arbitrary text and a latent style vector. We can extract the style vector from example images. Our method is unique as the horizontal layout is influenced by style. Thank you for watching our presentation. We hope you found it interesting.